SmartB Sports Update podcast is brought to you by Optimum CBD. For all your rest and recovery needs, CBD products are your best bet. Go to optimumcbd.store to order now. Free delivery on all orders over $99. You must be over 18 to order. I use Optimum CBD products personally for my rest and recovery. I train 6 days a week in Jiu-Jitsu, as you've probably heard on the SmartB Sports Update podcast. I teach, I train, I compete. And without Optimum CBD products, I wouldn't be able to do it. Optimum CBD for all your rest and recovery needs.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the SmartB Sports Update podcast. We've got a very special guest with us, one of our ambassadors, NRL legend Mitchell Pearce. Welcome, Mitch.
Hey, brother.
Good to see you. Mate, what have you been up to now that we're into the off-season? I know you've just got back from overseas, you mentioned before.
Yeah, I was over in Europe. Went back there for a couple of months. My partner's French, so try and do that as much as we can going forward
Awesome.
For a little period of time each year. But great to see friends and family, and then back here to talk footy and sport. How good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The last time you were on was back in August, so a bit's happened since then. Penrith have claimed their fourth straight premiership, and the Kangaroos have won the Pacific Championships as well. So we will get to that a little bit later, but there's no shortage of NRL news around. You wouldn't know that it's the off-season. The news just keeps pumping itself out. And, I guess the cricket's been a bit underwhelming with that ODI series, so we may as well just keep the NRL chat going here.
Yep.
Reports this week from the Mole on Wide World of Sports that the NRL is considering a radical change to the kickoff rule in 2025. They're looking at bringing in a 7-tackle set for any kickoff that goes over the 20-metre line on the full. Obviously this is in response to players, I guess, suffering those head injuries on those kick returns. What are your initial impressions of this proposal?
Well, it sort of hasn't come as too much of a surprise. There was a bit of talk at the back end of last year. I can't recall a specific story, but I remember there was a bit of talk getting around the game, wasn't there, around rule changes to kickoffs. As you just said, it's obviously the worry around, all this constant worry now around concussions and trying to clean the game up. But when you ask me the question, I don't know what my response is. There's obviously it's going to make, if the rule changes and they start doing these shorter kickoffs, it's just going to keep continuing this trend of speeding the game up and eliminating that sort of long game building pressure mentality. Obviously with the 6 agains now and all these faster starts, the game's just getting quicker and quicker, and this is another step forward to making it quicker, I suppose. Do I like it? I'm still traditional.
Yeah.
It's pissing me off a little bit that the rules just keep getting changed, especially something like this, which is, rugby league's been built off long kickoffs since the early days, hasn't it? And getting down there and your front row starting your sets with a big, powerful carry. That's what the game's been built off, and I don't want to lose that traditional style, but it is what it is, mate. And I think it's just the way the times are going now. There's more focus around health and people worried about getting sued, probably.
That's right.
Be honest.
Yeah, I mean, again, these are just reports. We don't have anything official out of the NRL on this, so they're just reports at this stage that they're considering this move. But I mean, the NRL haven't exactly been out there denying it, so that always says something as well. You go, well, they could come out and deny that this is going to happen. They haven't done that, so that always makes you feel like there's some weight behind the reports. So how do you think teams would approach this sort of a change? I know Andrew Voss and Greg Alexander on their radio show were saying that they think it won't deter teams from kicking over the 20 on the full. They think that teams will just cop the extra tackle and continue to kick long off the kickoff. What do you think teams will do under this scenario?
So just to get clear, so they're basically saying if you kick it over the 20, you get it just restarts the extra tackle.
It's
not a stoppage of play.
No. So if the kickoff lands over the 20 on the full, it's a 7-tackle set. Yeah,
that's 0 after that play.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Yeah, I reckon it'll probably depend on where the game's at for those players to decide whether they're going to take the risk to maybe get the extra one. Whether they do that early in the game, just to say, okay, let's just man up. Let's just team up for the first couple of plays, win those first couple of plays, and we'll deal with the 7 tackles to win field position, as opposed to taking a risk and kicking a short one. It'll obviously come down to game planning and coaches using their different strategies, so that'll be interesting to watch. But yeah, look, it's just let's just wait and see what happens with the NRL. But obviously, like you said, where there's smoke, there's fire, and it's obviously probably been pushed from somewhere at the NRL that they're coming up with this kind of idea or concept. But look, I just hope it just doesn't keep going. Rule change after everything that's been changed. Yeah. You can only come up with so many, and like I said before, I want to keep it traditional and still have some of the old rules.
And there's always other consequences as well when you make rule changes as well. There's always flow-on effects. I know with the 7 tackle rule in other instances where they brought in the rule to stop kickers from avoiding kicking to the fullback and kicking the ball dead. That's why they brought in the 7 tackle rule when you get a restart from the 20. But that's had other consequences for the game. I mean, now teams don't want to put in attacking kicks, or they're really reluctant to put in attacking kicks when they're close to the opposition line. And, things like field goal attempts as well. Teams who miss field goals, they get punished with the other team getting 7 tackles. That's not why the rule was brought in. And you sort of think in this case, well, it'll be the same. There'll be some flow-on effect. Maybe if teams know that there's a good chance they'll get 7 tackles, they might be more inclined to maybe take the 2 with a penalty goal, knowing that we've got the safety net of a 7 tackle set.
Yeah.
If the opposing team kicks long to us. And I did an article about this on our website yesterday. There's always flow-on effects when you change the rules too many times. It can have other impacts on the game.
100%, and like you just said, that there'll be a strategy to sort of counteract whatever rules put in, as we spoke about. I think during the year around the 7 tackles and the short dropout. I hated that rule this year because it sort of took out all the good. Halves were the excellent halves that had the ability to build pressure and find restarts for their team. Over the time when I was playing, that was the icing on the cake. The fact that you had a halfback that could build pressure, that kind of got taken away last year, and then teams are now running it on the last, and we're seeing a predictable game. So, like you just said, off these short kickoff changes, teams start going for 2 points, and the whole thing, the whole dynamics changes again. So, At the end of the day, the decision makers are above any of us talking about it or any of the players. So players just got to adapt. The game keeps moving forward, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be a quick style of footy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
going to be so hard defending over the next couple of years when you're getting on the back of these momentum swings. Yeah,
100%. And you sort of feel like it's robbing the fans as well. I mean, if you're a neutral, it's different if you're watching your own team play, but if you're a neutral fan, you always want to see teams take the tap and go for the try. You don't want to see teams taking the 2, and this could lead to more teams taking the 2 in the same way that, you don't want to see teams on the last just taking the tackle and going to ground because they're too scared of giving up 7 tackles. You want to see that team go on the attack, put in a kick to score a try or force a repeat set. But that's been taken away, and you really worry that, well, how consequential is this going to be? This sort of a rule change on the rest of the game.
The interesting one, and just thinking about the 7 tackles with the kick over 20, the new rule that they're talking about when you're explaining it. They're talking about eliminating the impact, but you're still getting the impact. Yeah, you're getting penalised for it, but there's still the impact. So even if you're going to kick it, if you kick it like a traditional kick and it lands in the end goal, they get 7 tackles, but you still got to make the contact.
100%.
So it's not actually eliminating the concussion in the first place anyway. Is it?
Yeah, it's
like, you're getting penalised, so it's going to encourage teams that don't want 7 tackles to kick shorter. So eventually we're probably going to see less longer kicks and less impact. But there's still going to be times when teams do kick long and all it takes is one head knock and it's the same old story. They're not eliminating the long kick at all. You know, you still got the option to do that. So there's still going to be impact. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. It's not like
it's taken out completely.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to penalise teams for kicking a kick-off over the 20. They're just giving the team a 7-tackle set.
They're probably hoping that they put the rule in and eventually the game turns into just short kick-offs. I'd say that's what their vision is.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's a bit of a funny one because you're not fully eliminating. If it's about head knocks, you're still going to get, hundreds during the year where the teams do kick long, and you're going to have the same impact that they've had all the time. So it doesn't make complete sense, does it? If it's purely around concussion, it could be a rule. Who knows? It could be a rule that they're pushing to speed the game up, similar to the 7 tackles. Who knows? It could be that could be more their mindset than the concussion. But a lot of the stories you're reading is around to eliminate concussion. Yeah, there might be less, but there's still going to be concussion. Or high impact. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, my sort of initial impressions of it are that early in the game, teams will do what they've always done and kick long and cop the extra tackle.
Yeah.
But maybe later on in a game where there's a bit more to think about, you've got to think about the scoreboard and the match situation. I think under that scenario, I think they'd probably be less likely to go long over the 20 and either kick it before the 20 or just go the short kick off and try and get the ball back.
Which they're doing a lot more of over the last sort of season or two, aren't they?
Yeah.
You see a lot more teams, especially with big outside backs that are looking for that contest. And at the end of the day, if you've got a Crichton or someone out there that is good in the air, it is a good percentage that you're going to get back. So it's not a bad ploy, but like we just said, it's just making the game faster and faster and more of an attack focus and sort of taking out that grind a bit, which is some people might like it and some don't.
Yeah, that's right. And a coach like Wayne Bennett, I mean, he always seemed keen to have his team take the 2 points. Well, that's going to be even more so now under this rule change. He's just going to be encouraging his team to take the 2 every time now, knowing that, well, there's a chance we get 7 tackles on the kick back. And again, I think it robs the fans of and not just Wayne Bennett, but a lot of coaches are going to think that way. And it robs the fans of attacking football teams going, oh no, we'll take the 2 and hopefully we'll get a 7 tackle set on the kick-off, rather than going for the try, which is what most fans want to see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how sort of teams adapt to it. As you said, whenever there's a rule change, we've seen a ripple effect over the last couple of years, especially the 6 agains and then the restarts. So it's exciting in one way to see how the game opens up, which sort of way it goes. But at the same time, I said before, like the traditional stuff to stay, and the kickoffs has been there for a long time, and I don't want to see that go out the window. The impact off the kickoff, you think about back in the day with in the 90s especially, with all the big impacts off kickoffs, it was what you enjoyed watching about footy. I know it's softened up a little bit in that regard where players are wrestling a bit more off kickoffs and it's not as much one-on-one impact, but you think about Chief Harrigan and
Spud Carroll.
Spud and that back in the day, it was, and especially in Origins, those play ones off kickoffs with the impact, that was the best thing about footy, watching that. You think Bedsy, I think it was Danny Badiris on Webkey, and I know the game's changing, but you don't want to see it soften too much, do you?
That's the thing. It's just part of the game, and I know they're worried about head injuries. I get that, and obviously they've got a lot more information now than they had back in the day in the medical field. So. But I mean, at some point you sort of just go, look, this is just part of the game. I mean, there's risk, there's a health risk involved, but that's every player across the game at every level. They're taking some level of health risk by taking the field.
I think the thing for me, I was saying it last year. The thing with the impact is where you measure it, because say you talk about the kickoff specifically, and they say about a high kickoff. So if you were to work out, by the time the halfback catches the ball and then tips onto his middle, you probably got a 15-metre carry off a poorer kick before the impact. But what about the short side ones, when you've got a kick down, play 2 or 3, where outside back's carrying down a short side on an open side? he's probably carrying 10 to 15 metres into the run of the defence, into the middles, to get his team on the front foot. So you're getting those little impacts throughout a game all the time. I know the kick-off one, if the kick-off's not as deep, there's probably a bit more impact off a kick-off with that big wind-up. But you think about through a game, there's a heap of impacts, little impacts like that off outside back carries where they're carrying 15 metres over an advantage line into the middle of the field. And there's heaps of that. So I don't know how they measure the risk. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like, do you eliminate... They eliminate that, which is to try and restrict the impact. But, the amount of times that there's huge impacts, within games off, like I said, off kick returns and outside backs running into the big middles. So, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to have to... If you don't want to concede a 7-tackle set now under these new rules, usually you'd have to sort of make sure the kick goes or 25 out, and then you sort of think, well, if you're going to do that, you may as well just give yourself a chance of regaining possession and just kick 10 or 15 metres and try and go for a short kick-off.
Yeah.
There's sort of no real point kicking at 25 metres. If you're going to do that, you may as well just kick it 10 or 15 and give yourself a chance of getting the ball back.
Better off being a contest.
Yeah.
In that no man's land a little bit where you sort of, I'd say it's going to encourage shorter kick-offs.
Yeah.
Like if teams are not going to go long and miss the 7,
we're
going to see 95% of the time, I reckon, your short kick-offs. And it'll turn into that contest with outside backs, like an AFL style thing where you get your big outside backs, you recruit big outside backs, and they're your money makers that, they become nearly your best player because they get you the ball back.
Yeah, 100%.
So you'll see your recruitment and your outside backs we're sort of gone that way anyway, those aerial players, but they'll be your best players, won't they? Because they're your go-to off kickoffs.
It's almost like the AFL ruckman will be coming into the NRL under this new rule. So you either go long and cop the extra tackle, or you just do a short kick-off and give yourself a chance of getting the ball back. No point in going into that middle ground, no man's land of 25 metres or so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like you said, you see a lot of teams doing that nowadays anyway, or more than they used to. It is a good ploy though, like we said, if you've got a big outside back and you can get the ball back, it's game on. But the risk is if you don't do it, you put yourself under pressure, don't you, defensively, so we'll see what happens. Yeah,
100%. Just moving on to some other news now. Your Roosters have been in the news a little bit. I know you're working there, so you might not want to say too much about these little bits of news. But it looks as though they've got some interest in Ben Hunt, the Roosters. It looks like that they might be his landing spot. I think the Bulldogs have shown some interest as well. But there's strong reporting saying that the Roosters are in the box seat to land Ben Hunt here. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, I work there, but I do a bit of stuff with the juniors. So
So
I don't know any. I stay out of all that.
Yeah.
But mate, I'm not sure. There are obviously a few clubs talking to Benny Hunt. He's an experienced player, done it all in the game. He's going to add value to any side that he goes to, I think. How old's Benny Hunt?
I think he is 34. I'm just going to double check that. He is 34.
34.
But he'll be 35 he's 35 in March next year. So
yeah. Well, he's gonna. If it was talk Roosters, he'd had experience there, no doubt. The Roosters obviously had a fair bit of a transition, haven't they, at the moment with Sammy Walker in an injured out. He won't be back till I'm not sure exactly when he's back or predicted to be back. And obviously, they've got a young crew around the halves coming through there, some really talented ones, but I'm sure someone like Benny Hunt would add plenty of value there, and leadership as well. But the Dogs are crying out for a halfback too, aren't they? Someone like the Dogs would be a great fit for him as well, I think. They did great last year, and they're probably just lacking that leader in that key role. So that's another great option for him, and even Newcastle. I was thinking the other day, someone like Newcastle are crying out for a halfback too. They sort of just talk about every year about taking that pressure off Kalen. So I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be a bad thing being Benny Hunt right now at 34 though, with with the money in the game and
Yeah.
getting the interest. He's in the hot seat, isn't he? So it might have been a smart move from him, leaving the Dragons. What was the wash-up out of that? The Dragons?
So it sounded as though it sounded from all the reporting, it sounded as though his relationship with Shane Flanagan just became untenable towards the end. We saw that footage of him and Shane Flanagan having stern words to each other after that Parramatta game. Yeah. You might remember that game. They were down 44-12 with 10 minutes to go. Somehow they got it back to 44-40. But yeah, Shane Flanagan wasn't happy with him after that game, and you could see it in the dressing room. The cameras picked up. I guess Shane Flanagan having heated words with Ben Hunt after that game, and it just seemed like from there. And then there was an issue with Ben Hunt was in an end of season review with Shane Flanagan and I think one other Dragons official, and then somehow the details of the review got out in the media, and Shane Flanagan basically came out and said, well, there was only Ben Hunt and one other person in the review along with me, so...
Who was it?
It's not... it might have been...
No, I'm saying...
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Shane Flanagan's obviously gone, well, there's no prizes for guessing who leaked this out to the media. And then, from there, they got to a point, I think... and Ben Hunt also said... something like when they were talking about Gutherson potentially joining the Dragons, he's since actually joined them. Ben Hunt said he might be a good option of playing 5'8", and obviously that didn't go down too well with the coach whose son's at 5'8".
Yeah, right.
So obviously things not turning out too well for Ben Hunt at the Dragons there. Yeah.
How long was Benny there for? About 5 years? 4 years?
I think he was there since 2018.
4 years.
2018 was his first season there, and that was the only season that they made the finals as well. Yeah. Is that a concern for you that he only had one as the halfback? He only had one finals appearance at the Dragons, and that was back in 2018.
Yeah, well, their roster hasn't had much consistency either, has it? Benny Hunt's been a great competitor, great player for Queensland, Australia, Broncos especially when he was there. So. He obviously got plenty of criticism when he was at the Dragons, but there wasn't much stability around him for a long time. And I love Benny Hunt as a player. I think, as I just said before, I think he's in a great position to finish his career at a good club, wherever he picks, whether it was the Roosters or the Dogs or Newcastle, the one I tossed up.
And that's the thing, you followed that path as well. You're at the Roosters, you finished your career at Newcastle, so I guess you sort of saying to Ben Hunt, well, that's a good way to finish your career. Is there something about Newcastle that you think would be appealing to Ben Hunt?
I'm pushing him for the Roosters, obviously.
Sorry. I'll put that out there as a second option.
Well, the Roosters, being a Rooster and working there, I don't like commenting on it too much because I don't know if they're actually going for him at all. I don't know what the play is there. I just got back, but look. I'd love to see him at the Chooks if that was the avenue of the way they were pushing him, because he'd be a great value there, especially with the situation the club's in. But the Newcastle option that we said, would definitely be appealing to him, I reckon. I think all those clubs that are going for him would be a great way for him to finish his career. And I think he'll add great value because he's a competitor. When you get older, you usually become a little bit slower. But I suppose his game hasn't been based off like blistering speed and that type of stuff. He's a cunning sort of player wherever he plays. Good running game. He's a super tough guy, isn't he? Like the way he plays for his size. Whether he's played for Queensland, Australia, or the clubs he's played at, he's played so tough. So, and the way the game is now, especially as halves. There's not too many old senior rep halves around, is there? So they're a bit of a golden egg when they come available. And the way he's played, still played this year. He had a lot of assists this year at the Dragons. He was playing some pretty decent footy. Played pretty well for Australia again. So he's good value for any team.
Yeah, 100%. I know you want him to join the Roosters, and Joel Keynes actually said he thinks he'll definitely end up at the Roosters, so sounding like it's pretty close to being a done deal there. But yeah, that Newcastle maybe, it's just, I guess, not as much pressure. The media's not on your back as much as maybe the Sydney media are.
Benny's at an age too, though, that I'm not sure if the media would faze him too much.
Wouldn't care. Yeah.
Well, I don't know him personally, but he's been in that the roller coaster, the washing machine of a rugby league 7 for a long time now. So I think one thing you know of him, he's going to give 100%. He's a leader. He's done it all in the game. So wherever he goes, hopefully it's the Roosters. I'm sure he'll add great value.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned that Sam Walker injury just before. There's not a whole lot of detail on the NRL.com casualty ward. Just says he'll be back at some stage next season. So I think by the sounds of it, maybe midway through next season for Sam Walker there maybe. Yeah. Hopefully he can get back a bit earlier than that.
Yeah, no, sad to see, wasn't it? Obviously with the players that are leaving as well, and how good he was going. He obviously was in some good form, Sammy, before he had that injury going into the finals. So, yeah, look, he's got it all ahead of him. I think he just re-signed, didn't he, Sammy? I think there was talk of him re-signing.
I'll just check that. Yeah, and obviously the Roosters there, they've now signed Chad Townsend as well.
Yeah,
so
they got him there too. Yeah.
So maybe are you thinking maybe Townsend at halfback, Ben Hunt at hooker, maybe I guess Brandon Smith sort of on the outs a little bit at the Roosters as well.
Well, that's probably you just said a good point. Obviously, Benny Hunt's just as good at 9 as he is at 7, isn't he? So it is. If they could pick him up, it's a great signing there to cover a lot of positions. And what is his best position, Benny Hunt? You reckon 9 or 7?
Well, me personally, I think I think maybe 9.
Yeah.
Just because I think that way he can just sort of play footy and play off the cuff a little bit, and he doesn't have to think about it too much, maybe, and he doesn't have the weight of being the 7 and the boss of the side on his shoulders. Is that a fair call?
Yeah, I think in big games he's always played his best footy at 9.
Yeah, in rep footy, yeah.
Because he's, both positions. Just to think about that, obviously where the Roosters are at, with Sammy out, with the Cheese there, sort of mixing in his different roles, it's a no-brainer, isn't it, if they can get him, with the position that they're in. So yeah, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, it certainly gives them another option anyway. You're talking about Sam Walker's contract before. He's contracted till the end of 2027, so he's recently signed a new 2-year deal, so yeah, he's tied up with the Roosters till the end of 2027.
Yeah, I love watching Sammy play as well, and I think the next couple of years it's going to be good to see how his game evolves. He's obviously an instinctive player, eyes up footy, plays what he sees, but this next few years, like all halves, you'll go through that journey of having to become a game manager and start to take control of the team and become the main guy. So I'm really excited to see how he grows within the team. It's his team now. Luke Geary's moved on, and it'd be great to see his growth because some of the stuff he comes up with is just out of this world.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Sam Walker and Brandon Smith set to miss a large chunk of 2025 with those ACL injuries. Yeah, so it's just terrible. Hopefully they can get back on the field very soon. Speaking of Brandon Smith, your Roosters well and truly in the news at the moment. Apparently they've been in contact with rival clubs in a bid to sort of offload him. I think he's contracted till the end of 2025, so I guess with him set to miss a large chunk of the season, I guess they're sort of looking around for another buyer if they can find one. That doesn't sound like maybe they've been too happy with what they've got out of him since he's been there, Brandon Smith.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about that, but it's just funny, isn't it, with the game. It's funny that the game can still create so many stories when we're not even playing. Yeah. It's great for the sport and the fans, I suppose, to have this interest of speculation, whether it's bullshit or not. You don't know.
Yeah. It's good for the game though.
Yeah. It'd be great to see Cheese. I think it'd be great to see Cheese get back to his best footy though. Like when he was at Melbourne, the footy he was playing there was crazy good. Played that utility role. He was playing around in the lock position a lot. Coming in and out for Cameron Smith at times. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if they can really squeeze a lemon with him next year at the Roosters and get the best footy out of him, because at his best, he's a weapon, isn't he? So
yeah,
let's hope he can get his best footy on the field next year for the Chooks.
Yeah, if he was to leave, where do you think he might be suited to? Which other club do you think might be, on the lookout for a player like Brandon Smith?
Man, I haven't really thought
Yeah.
what the options would be, and if he's still contracted at the Roosters though, isn't he?
Yeah, for another year, yeah.
So I can't see him going anywhere or at this point if he's still contracted there.
Yeah. I guess those reports that they're looking to offload him, but we'll see how that plays out. There's no confirmation on that, obviously. Just moving along there. Brandon Smith, another Brandon Smith story. Apparently he's had a bit of a go at Ryan Pappenhousen, interestingly, on a podcast. So Melbourne's told Ryan Pappenhousen that he can leave at the end of 2025. They're looking to free up salary cap space. And I guess, Brandon Smith's had some words about Ryan Pappenhousen on a podcast. He said, and I quote, he says, "I don't think the Storm, undervalued him. I think if you look back in the last 3 years, he's played 15 odd games. I think that would have been part of the decision-making process. We can't continue to pay this guy $1.1 million when he's playing 30% of the season. He's small and fragile."
This is what she said.
Yeah, this is what he said about Ryan Pappenhousen. That was on a podcast reported by Danny Widler, Channel 9 and the Sydney Morning Herald.
Wow.
So
they mustn't be friends.
Yeah, it's you sort of go, well, why would you go there?
Yeah.
And he's riled up people in the ranks at the Storm as well with those comments to Brandon Smith. They're not happy, apparently, according to this report. So
yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it? So to talk about Pappenhousen, I think it's a must keeping him down there. He's played limited amount of footy. He's had some bad injuries, but you'd like to think that he's going to start to put more footy together, and just played in the grand final, didn't he? So
yeah. So you'd still be happy offering him the $1.1 million salary, even though he has suffered those injuries?
I think the thing with salary cap now and players' values is sometimes you don't have an option the way the game is now, because if you're a player that's in hot demand, the clubs have got no choice than to pay him what they want. I think at his best, he's on the market at the moment. Comparing him to other fullbacks, he's a $1 million player. You'd have to get up the figures of the other players or remind me what they're all on. But you'd like to think that all the best fullbacks now are on 1-1-2. You would think in and around that rep elite level. So look, he's going to push for whatever he can get, isn't he? That's what managers are for and what players are after these days. And yeah, at his best, I think he's a great player, Pappenhousen, and I love the style of footy that they played this year. Like obviously Jerome Hughes is the mastermind down there. Munster's Munster. But the way Pappenhousen gives them the X factor down there, they need him, and any club needs him. I reckon he'd be great value wherever he went, and yeah, he'll pick up a big deal regardless. With the way the value of players is now, and he is one of the elites. In my opinion, he'd be top 5 in the game.
Yeah, that's a big call. Yeah,
fullback wise, I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. Danny Widler reporting that many at the Storm aren't happy with Brandon Smith. He wrote, and I quote, "It caused eyebrows to be raised at the Storm." Those comments from Brandon Smith. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment in this game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Moving right along now. Another story that might be of interest to you. Laurie Daley's actually been linked to this New South Wales coaching job, of course. They're looking for a replacement for Michael Maguire, who's taken that job at the Broncos. I guess, again, Danny Wilder reporting that Daley would need to give up some of his other roles in order to be eligible for the job. So he'd need to cease his roles on the Big Sports Breakfast on Sky Sports, as well as his regular appearance on The Late Show with Matty Johns on Fox. So he's been told that he might have to give up these gigs if he wants that Origin job with the Blues. What are your thoughts on that? You obviously played under Laurie Daley at the Blues. How would you feel about him returning to the job?
Yeah, I think Loz would be a great option. I love Loz. He was always good to me. Great guy, absolute legend, isn't he? Of the game and the standing that he holds in the game. But a really good coach. And when Loz was coaching, obviously I was playing there at the time, but it was a difficult time for New South Wales. But Loz always had the players wanting to play for him. He's a champion as a player, and a guy you listen to every word he says. But he came in at a time in New South Wales when it was a difficult time. So there's probably maybe a burning desire inside him to want to come back as well, unless it's just paper talk. But who knows? Loz has maybe got that fire in his belly again to go, I want to have another crack at this, and he sees the opportunity to get some results with a really good New South Wales team coming through. So has he actually commented, or is it just paper talk?
I mean, I don't think there's any direct quotes from him, but according to the reports, he's willing to give up these jobs in order to have another shot at it. I guess he'd have to be guaranteed the job before he did that. He's not going to give up his jobs and then not get the job. He'd have to obviously be guaranteed the job if he's going to give up his other gigs. But I don't think there's direct quotes from him, but a lot of reports around that he might be the next one in line.
Who's the other options? I heard Mick Ennis was getting tossed up.
He was getting tossed up. Ricky Stewart was talked about
Trent Barrett
as well.
Trent Barrett as well.
Yeah, I think Trent Barrett as well. Yeah. Phil Gould's had something to say about it. He actually thinks the job should be done by a club coach. And he's named Ivan Cleary, Ricky Stewart, and Craig Bellamy as potential contenders as well.
Yeah, they're all top shelf, aren't they? I think the thing with it, do you know who's a smoky, and I'll toss that? Boyd Cordner. So Boyd Cordner's actually SG ball coach at the Roosters at the moment. And,
okay.
Obviously, I'm doing a bit of stuff just with the juniors, bouncing from Harold Matts to SG ball, and I'm really enjoying it. But I go into those meetings with Boyd at the SG ball, right? And he's in there, the guy he's the best leader I've played with, and he was assistant coach at the Roosters last year. But just even the way he talks to the young kids there, and he's just an out-and-out leader and a guy that holds a lot of respect in the game, even in that environment, like in Origin and Australia. I'm just throwing a little smoky out there. Someone like Boyd Cordner, I think, at least have his name in there. I'm not sure if Boyd even would want to do it, but I reckon someone like him would be great. A recently retired player that holds a lot of weight and very respected. But it'd be interesting. Obviously, Craig Bellamy, who knows, he might be at that age where he's back end of his coaching career and he might be wanting to look for a little last hurrah and give it one more crack. It'd be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, 100%. Well, if Boyd Cordner gets the job, you heard it here first. Laurie Daley, he's been at the helm before of the Blues. Obviously, you played under him there. He was there between 2013 and 2017. Just one series win from 5, but that having been said, that was at a time where Queensland had, a great side there, littered with stars. And to be fair to Laurie Daley, before he got there, Queensland had won. Well, they only lost one series between 2006 and 2017, and Laurie Daley actually won that series in 2014. So the Blues hadn't had a lot of luck before he got there as well. So It's a bit harsh to just say, oh, he's one series win from 5. Well, you got to look at who he was up against there with that great Queensland side at that time.
Yeah, and as I said, Laurie was I love Laurie. He was really good to me. Good leader, good coach, passionate guy. So yeah, he'd do a great job. I think in that environment, it's the team you have around you as well, not just on the field, but your staff, and where the state's at that time. You know, if you get the right players and everyone comes together, you get the result. All those coaches that have been tossed up in their own right all bring something different, but they're all winners. So I'm sure they'll pick the right guy, and you know, I'm back in a good series next year for New South Wales. If you look at the Australian game on the weekend, a lot of our standout players through the series were Australian. Were New South Wales. Travojevic, Lomax, Crichton, Mitch Moses was solid through the test matches. So we're in a good place as New South Wales people.
Yeah, 100%. Just moving along now, the Dragons have confirmed the signing of Clint Gutherson, so he's headed for the exit there at Parramatta, and he's been snapped up by the Dragons. Yeah, that's a big signing there for St George Illawarra. They'd be happy about that.
Yeah, well, they get a leader, don't they? They get you know, any player that plays with Gutho, you hear how fit he is, and the way he plays, he's just an all-out effort player, isn't he? And he's been the captain there at Para for a while, so yeah, they get a leader, you know, someone that's going to raise the bar as far as training standards and 1%ers on the field. He's still at a pretty good age too, Gutho. Like, he's not super old. He's still probably got 4 or 5 good years in him.
Yeah, he's 30, yeah.
Yeah, so and the way he plays, he's super fit. So the good thing for him too, he can play different roles. He can play fullback. He could probably play in the centres. Cover 5'8", maybe if there's injuries. But they signed him as a fullback.
Yeah, according to this report, he's expected to replace Terrell Sloan at fullback there. So
that's probably what they need. They need a bit of a tidy up there, don't they? So who are they replacing Ben Hunt with? Dragons. Still waiting.
Yeah, well, at this stage, I guess they're sort of on the hunt for a replacement there, I would have thought. Yeah.
They need to hit the mark there, don't they? Like, yeah, like it's a bit of a worry for the Dragons there, obviously, even with Gutho, but they need a halfback, don't they? They need a halfback.
That's the thing. I know Ben Hunt, of all people, floated the idea that they should put Gutherson at 5'8". But yeah, he looks like he's going to play fullback there, so he's not their answer in the halves. They've got to find another half to partner Kyle Flanagan there, the Dragons. But yeah, it is hard to see them, if they let go of a player like Ben Hunt and don't replace him with anyone of note, well, it's hard to see how they're possibly going to improve on where they've finished this year.
Yeah, there must be something in the pipeline though, because
yeah.
Like Flano's obviously they made big leaps last year. You know, they grew a lot as a team, but they need a halfback, don't they? So
yeah,
who's available?
I'm just having a look. So just having a look here at this report. Sorry. So yeah, this is according to the Daily Telegraph.
Yeah.
The Dragons have already shortlisted Super League duo Bevan French and Brodie Croft. Cronulla youngster Daniel Atkinson, Rabbitohs halfback Lachlan Ilias, and West Tigers utility back Adam Dewey as potential replacements for Hunt. So there you go. That's a report as of November 5, so a bit over a week ago. So
I'll tell you what, Bevan French, if anyone hasn't been watching Super League, I went to the grand final, played against him when I was over there, and then the grand final this year where he was man of the match. He's unbelievable over there, Bevan French. Obviously played at Para when he was in the NRL. Was only a younger kid, but he's been over in Super League. Honestly, some of the staff, if you get a chance on YouTube or whatever to watch him, he's unbelievable. So just all out instincts. Best player over there by a mile. He's got a great little combination with Jai Field there. That was obviously at the Dragons when he was a young kid. He's the open space of Super League really suits him. But yeah, if Bevan French was open to come back to the NRL, whether it was the Dragons or another club, I reckon you get some pretty good footy out of him in the NRL. So
Yeah.
I'd love to see him come back. Just when you toss his name up there, whether it's the Dragons for now or... He's not your halfback. He's not going to be the game manager if that's what they're after. But, you know, you put him at 6 or fullback, he'll light up the NRL, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And some of those... some players from the NRL have gone over to Super League and really gone gangbusters. I mean, Jackson Hastings was another one. He went really well in the Super League. And I remember Ben Barber when he went to the Super League. Some of his highlights on YouTube.
Unbelievable.
Just extraordinary.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
Well, Bevan French, similar to Benny Barr, was probably a good comparison, but he was unbelievable over there. So be interesting to see if he comes back. Even Jai Field, smaller body, but... Obviously, the game over there is a lot more open, and the defence isn't as resilient week to week, especially against the lower sides. But yeah, those guys are super good to watch. So yeah, I'd love to see them back in the NRL in a couple of years.
Yeah, and I guess that decision from Jason Riles to let Clint Gutherson go, maybe in part that was made because they wanted to free up the salary cap space to make sure they keep Mitchell Moses, which is a real must for the Eels, you would have thought.
Yeah, he's obviously... What's Mitch? Is he re-signed?
I'll just check that one.
He had a good series, didn't he? He was obviously played really solid through the test matches. Thought that Australia-Kiwi game, he was really impressive. It was a grinding type of game. And
so he's had a good rep season too.
Yeah, he has.
Guiding the Blues to the Origin win and Australia to the Pacific Championship win.
He'll get a nice little payday.
Yeah. So he's contracted until at least the end of 2026 with an option for a further 2 years until 2028.
Yeah.
So
he's in the box seat, isn't he? Be a good contest next couple of years. Be good to see what they do in Origin as well next year.
Yeah,
they put Nathan and
interesting
and Mitch together.
Do you think they'll just put those two in the halves together? I guess they got Luai as well, so yeah, that's an interesting one. That one, how do you fit sort of 2 into 3 there for the Blues halves next year?
Yeah, well, everyone keeps knocking Jerome, but he's been one of our best year after year, hasn't he? And then he obviously got the combination with Nathan, but yeah, it's a good position for us to be in. Injuries and whatever that's going to come up, and then how Jerome obviously is also going to play at the Tigers too. So whether they're going to pick him, if the Tigers, hopefully they're not, but if they're struggling, who knows where it's going to be, in 6-7 months' time. But
yeah, that's right.
Either way, I think Mitch and Nathan, if they were to pick them together, Mitch would have to adapt his game but play more of that 5'8" role. But I still think them two together would be dynamite.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, as you say, I mean, you just got to check that, make sure they're all fit, and at that time as well. There's obviously a long way to go before the Origin series next year, and I guess you just got to see they get through that early part of the season and they're all fit, and then go from there. See which way the selectors go.
Yeah, bring on. What's the Origin? 8 months away.
The countdown begins. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what. There's a fair bit going on at the Broncos. Yeah, a lot of drama. It looks like Ezra Mam's actually been charged over this head-on collision, allegedly failing that second drug test. He's been hit with 2 charges over a head-on collision in the Brisbane suburb of Barden last month. Mam was charged with 1 count of drive while relevant drug is present in blood, and driving without a licence. He's set to appear in Brisbane Magistrates Court on December 16. This is a very unsavoury incident, of course, and obviously not what Michael Maguire would have wanted in his early days as Broncos coach.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it, from a football point of view, but also for Ezra. Who knows what's going to happen from a police point of view as well.
Yeah, serious. I mean, the occupants of the vehicle were injured in the collision as well, so it's a serious situation.
Yeah, it's all my thoughts are with him. Hopefully, everyone makes mistakes, and you hope that everything sort of works itself out. But from a Broncos point of view, I think Madge is going to be great for them up there. you've had a bit to do with Madge, and I just think they need someone like him. We spoke about it a bit last year with the Broncos, but at the moment they're on the cusp of being underachievers and not reaching their potential if they keep going how they're going, and or they've got the ability to snap into gear and be the best team in the comp again. Obviously Ezra and the situation there, not having a 5'8" potentially is going to be an issue as far as football on the field. So I think that decision needs to be made sooner or later. If he's not going to play for most of the season, well, they're probably going to look... You'd think that Madge would probably look for a replacement.
Yeah.
I don't think they can waste another 6-7 months playing without a 6. It's going to hurt the team, and I don't think Madge would want that to happen with his first year, with the pressure up there.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting what they do, or what comes out of that, whether they just cut ties. If it's looking, in a bad situation as far as police and everything. But I think Madge will be great. I'm sure that he'll snap them out of their egos a bit up there. I feel like they're a loose group, aren't they? And I speak from experience because I've been in teams when we had all the ability. I go back to 2012 at the Roosters. We had all the ability, had all the players. We went from average season to 13 where we won the comp. And I could speak from experience and a flawed human where unless you change your attitude and you have a coach that comes in and snaps you all and gives you the honest truths, nothing changes. And I don't know the situation that was up there this year, but it looked like there was plenty of people on different pages at the Broncos. So they need to sort out their leadership, they need to sort out who's driving the ship, and they need to sort out their attitudes.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned, excuse me, I guess, Michael Maguire and how he's taken the reins there at the Broncos, and he's a hard taskmaster. And apparently there's been reports of the sight of vomit buckets perched around training, and the NRL are a bit concerned about it, actually. I guess they're worried. I guess we go back to the tragic passing of Manly youngster Keith Titmus 4 years ago, I guess. They're worried about these rigorous training of these players in the summer months and the health concerns that it can lead to. But it's that balancing act, isn't it? I mean, that they've signed him because he's that hard taskmaster. They want that harder edge to their footy. And so he's bringing that, and now the NRL looking at it and going, but we've got to go a bit easy here. We've got to look after player welfare. So it's really hard to sort of find that balance.
Should get some footage from the 80s when guys would go out and drink all night and then get smashed, and if they complain, they probably get sent home. Yeah,
and you used to hear stories of, in the 90s and early 2000s of, I used to hear stories about the Bulldogs. They used to say to their players, you're not getting a drink of water, you run a marathon and we're not giving you a drink of water, you got to harden up, this sort of stuff. And so you sort of think about that, and you think about now, and you sort of go, well, there's no way that they'd allow that to happen now. They'd make sure the players have got the fluids up and everything. Yeah,
the games, you can't... When I first started playing first grade, some of the sessions we were doing, and I love training, and I love the fitness, and some of the sessions we were doing, if you were to compare the pre-seasons now, like I know the players are way stronger, more physical, the training is intense while you're there. There's a lot more babysitting nowadays. Like, if you got a slight injury, you get pulled out, or your training's monitored. The actual fitness sessions are way more strategic than what they were back then. Like, back then you'd run a 5K, then into skills, and then you'd be doing a yo-yo test. Like, guys were spewing up all the time. And there was never any complaining. So I think this whole welfare thing, it's great, but I don't think the games... I think that the sessions are... You're protected more than ever, the way players are training now. You're fitter, you're stronger, it's way more intelligent. Around sprint training and the right type of training. That's why players look so good now. But I think everyone playing now is pretty well looked after, and they're so good with looking after your body now as well. If players have been overcooked or they come in and do testing on their dehydration, and if the dehydration's off a little bit, they'll pull them out of a session to risk injuries, and so I don't think there's any worry around players spewing up. I don't think anyone's going to get overcooked. Coaches now are very intelligent. They know that it's a long game and that they need players firing at the back end of the year, and they look after them more now than they ever did.
Well, what was the hardest thing you had to do in pre-season training when you were a player? Can you remember?
I remember heaps of hard sessions, but we used to do when Freddie was there, Brad Fittler, when I was in second year. I just remember sessions where it'd be like big long runs, so it was a lot of longer stuff, and then some of those sessions would consist of like a big long run, can't remember how many Ks, but like you're pretty cooked. Into skills, then you do a yo-yo test, and then you might finish with another one. Like, they were big sessions. There was heaps of stuff we used to do, a lot of longer stuff, where the game now is a lot more shorter. Probably my last 5 years I played, as I just said, there was a lot more protection around your body. So if players are coming in they're doing that much testing before they go out onto the field. Back in the day, I'm talking like I'm 60, but when I first started, I reckon you'd come in maybe 20 minutes before the session, you'd do a bit of a stretch and warm up, then you'd be on the field. Where now you're in there an hour and a half before. You got testings with physios, like mobility testing, dehydration testing. So you're in that good a condition before you go out there that the room for error is pretty monitored around injuries and stuff. So players are pretty blessed now with how fit you can get. But then again, there's the argument, is it too much monitoring and too much high speed that there's becoming more soft tissues as well? So, I don't know, mate.
It's hard to keep everyone happy, isn't it? But it'd be interesting to see how Maguire goes at the Broncos. Obviously, he's a well-credentialed coach, won that Super League title with Wigan in 2010, Premiership with South in 2014, coached New Zealand to the Pacific Championship win last year, coached New South Wales to the Origin Series win this year. So, a well-credentialed coach, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they go under him next year.
It's a perfect coach for them. We just said it, but I think for them, for that group that they got, where they're at, they've got all the potential. They just need a little bit of a tighten up. I think Madge will be they could go. If they get a 6, depending on Ezra, they need a 6. They need someone to take the pressure off Adam Reynolds. But if they can get that sorted, they're every chance of going back up in the top 4 again.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, made that grand final in 2023, and Nathan Cleary ripped the premiership trophy out of their hands in the dying stages of that game. So, interestingly, another interesting story coming out of the Broncos. Payne Haas has had a bit of a dig at their former coach, Kevin Walters. Payne Haas was talking about his time in New South Wales camp last year under Maguire, and he said, and I quote, "I was watching some of the other boys in the New South Wales team, the way they did things. I felt like we could be doing things better at the Broncos." So, he seemed to have a bit of a dig at his old coach there, Payne Haas. That's pretty interesting. And Michael Maguire's going to jump in there, and it sounds like Payne Haas is pretty happy that Michael Maguire's going to jump in and take over there, or has taken over there.
Yeah, well, there was obviously everyone on different pages up there, and this is what happens in footy, right? When you're having a bad year and it's not working, usually there's sometimes conflict with players and then coaches. It just shows that not everyone's on the same page, but it takes a good coach, a couple of good leaders, and then you usually can turn things around pretty fast. And they've got the ability, as we just said, so it's on them now to get the club back on track, and I'm sure they will. Like you talk about Payne Haas, he's a machine. Carrigan there, Katoni Staggs. I was in Bali actually, and recently I drove past on a scooter and saw him. He's a weapon, isn't he? Size of him. I love him as a player. So they got the roster there. They just got to get down and work hard.
Yeah, 100%, and hopefully, as you say, under Michael Maguire, that harder edge, it could be enough to sort of get them right back up there in the top 4 next year for the Broncos. Moving on to another club, one that you might have a soft spot for, the Tigers, given your dad's history there. They've actually issued still on this fitness theme and this pre-season theme, they've issued breach notices to up to 5 players for not being up to the fitness standards of the club. That's some interesting news that's come out on Wednesday yesterday. And Brandon Smith's had a bit to say about it on a podcast.
Brandon Smith's on fire.
He's pretty busy, Brandon Smith. He said, Brandon Smith said, if I'm Benji Marshall, I find it disrespectful on the players' behalf. So, I guess, Benji sort of cracking the whip at the Tigers there. And,
so what's he done, sorry?
Brandon Smith? Or,
No, Benji.
Sorry. Benji, so what's happened is the players, these players haven't been named. Up to 5 West Tigers players have been issued official breach notices over reported fitness issues. Bombshell news dropped on Wednesday morning. According to a report from Code Sports, at least 2 players will need to front the club's board of directors to fight to avoid having their contracts torn up. It comes after News Corp reported players recently agreed to strict fitness guidelines that would hold players accountable ahead of their return to pre-season training, and the club made good on its threat with up to 5 players facing disciplinary action as a result of failing to meet the standards agreed to.
Yeah, right. They got to start doing something, don't they, the Tigers? So I'm sure that the way that they play, the way that the club's in, the discipline that they show on the field and off the field, Benji's obviously going to, like, the way forward for them in a short period of time to get success, they need Benji to set hard standards, and they need the players and their leaders to buy in, or we're going to keep seeing the same thing over and over again from the Tigers. So it's a good stance, I think, from Benji, as long as they're consistent with it. Players trust rules that are set in place if it's consistent and everyone in the club's living it. Otherwise, it'll be the same old story. But, I reckon it's a good thing. It's the first day back. If they've all bought into it and said they're going to do it, and they're all hard on each other, well, they've set a standard to start off the year, and hopefully it's all uphill for them. Yeah,
3 wooden spoons in a row. Obviously, things have got to change with that sort of record recently. How do you think they'll go with Jerome Luai there next year? Do you think do you think they'd maybe avoid the spoon with Luai there next year? Is his addition enough for them to avoid the spoon next year?
So who else they got? They got
they got a bunch of recruits. Sunia Taruva from Penrith as well. Royce Hunt, Jack Bird as well. They got Jarrell Skelton from the Bulldogs as well, the winger. Yeah. Obviously that's alongside the likes of Appy Coruscant, Lockie Galvin. They are getting a roster assembled there at the Tigers.
I think the thing with the Tigers is, and we say it every year, like, defensively, they need to improve. So we just spoke about the disciplinary stuff. Defence and disciplinary standards do connect.
Yeah.
Your attitude, your application to want to do the dirty stuff on and off the field, that's their issue. Like, Jerome's going to help their attack if he can get some go forward. They've got Galvin there. I think those two will be great together.
Yeah.
There's going to be some games where we go, how good did they play together? There'll probably be some games where it'll be the same old story, especially while they start. But, like, for me, it's Jerome's going to go as well as Jerome plays is going to depend on, like we just said, their defence and the pack that he's got around him and how hard they work. So I worry for the Tigers where it's going to come from again. I don't think that they can physically in an arm wrestle go with the top teams. Well, most teams. That's a bit harsh, but it's the truth at the moment. And identity and changing your style to defence and 1%ers, it takes time. So, look, at the end of the day, they've set some standards at the start, pre-season, got a bit of media around it. They're obviously trying to change, and the quicker they change or how fast they change will determine how well Jerome and that play. It's as simple as that. You know he's going to play well. He's going to turn up. He's going to come up with moments. He's going to play well, but a half can only play as well as the team around him. And if you're on the back foot all the time, it's a difficult ask.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, a lot of work to do for the Tigers and a long rebuild ahead, but you got to start somewhere, right? And it seems like Benji is with these new fitness standards he's putting in place. So we'll see how they go next year. I was just going to touch on the Pacific Championships with Australia winning that final over Tonga on Sunday. Now the 2024 season is now drawn to a close with that result. Was well done to the Kangaroos. They led 14-4 at half time and 20-4 early in the second half. But Tonga hung in there, came back there towards the end, and it was only 20-14 at full time, so they didn't go away. Would have been easy at 20-4 to just, throw in the towel and allow the score to blow out, but it didn't. Tonga hung in there, and well done to them as well.
Yeah, I was at the game. They started really well. I love that play from Katoa. The double cross play for the first try. Was it the other Katoa on the wing that scored?
Yeah, both Katoas scored, yeah.
Both Katoas. I love that. The start of the game from them. Who scored the last try?
I'll check that out for you.
Being at the game after they scored that last try, the atmosphere, honestly, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'll just run through the try scorers for you. So Tommy Turbo got a double for the Aussies. Yep. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow and Xavier Coates got the other tries for Tonga. Yeah, the two Katoas, Sione and Alicia, both got tries. Haumale Olakau'atu got the other one for Tonga. The last try for Tonga, Alicia Eli Isa Katoa scored it at the 73rd minute. That might be the one.
How many Katoas?
Yeah. Got to get my head around.
That one was the last one. Oh no, about 5 minutes to go.
The Katoa won 73rd minute. The Elisa Katoa. Yeah.
So it was honestly a great atmosphere out there. I don't know where the game's going in a few years without the Islanders. We need the Islanders, don't we? They're taking over and. It's so good for the game, but being out there, honestly, when Australia did something well, you heard a few Aussies yelling out. When the Islanders were scoring, it just took over the whole game. It was so good to watch.
And I mean, you were out there at the game, but on TV it did look like the crowd were 90-95% Tongan supporters. It looked that way on TV.
And even walking into the stadium, just all the Tongan fans all through Parramatta. All the restaurants and that, it was a great atmosphere. It was a great culture what they're creating there within the fans, and I loved being a part of it. And I almost was going for Tonga by the end of it.
That's the thing. You couldn't help but have a soft spot for Tonga. Yeah. I guess it's important for Australia to win that tournament after they suffered that 30-0 defeat to New Zealand in the final of this tournament last year. So I think it was really important for the Kangaroos to bounce back and win that title. Yeah,
Australia played well. You said Tom Trbojevic. I think he got the 2 tries, got one held up, which if you got his hat trick.
Yeah.
He's just an animal, isn't he? He does everything so easy. Standouts for me from Australia, Lomax I thought was great again through the series.
Yeah, he had 217 metres from 22 carries for the game.
He's a machine. Edwards is just so consistent, isn't he, at the back. I was talking to a mate actually who was involved with the team, and he was talking about how impressive he is before a game, how he surprised him how much talk he has, what a leader he is on game day. But yeah, the whole side, I thought, obviously Crichton in the back row, what a year he had as well. Wally Lewis medal for New South Wales, and played nearly every game for Roosters, and then I thought he was really solid for Australia again. And Mitch Moses too, I think we spoke a bit about him, but I love watching Mitch play. I was at the game actually, and all his family were in the similar area I was in. His dad, obviously, Uncle Benny, obviously played with my dad back in the day, so I got a bit of a connection with the Elias and Moseses. So, but he's turned into such a good player, Mitch, and what a year. And I can't wait to watch him in the next couple of years.
Yeah, 100%. Tommy Turbo's now got 6 tries in 7 Test appearances, so he loves playing for Australia.
Freak.
Adam Fanua-Blake was really good for Tonga as well. He got racked up 217 metres from 24 carries as well. So
unbelievable. What was the try he scored? Was it against New Zealand? When he just ran straight through the middle?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. He's such a good player. What a signing for Cronulla next year as well. Anyone who plays with him just talks about how mad he is, but also just as a player on the field, just his footwork, he just gets you on the front foot continually. So Even Taumalolo, he's getting a bit older and doesn't get talked about as much, but he's just a beast still, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah. And, we haven't had you on since August, so we haven't had a chance to talk about Penrith winning the comp yet. What do you make of that? Just an extraordinary achievement, 4 straight premierships. Ivan Cleary, the first coach since immortal Norm Proven to win 4 premierships in a row. Clive Churchill medal for Liam Martin. This Penrith dynasty just rolls on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was probably their best premiership out of all of them, I think. Like, as far as the way they did it. Obviously, Nathan had a few setbacks during the year. There's constant doubt whether Nathan will play. Kept coming back from injuries. So as far as a legendary story or like legacy for Nathan, I think winning the premiership and the way he did it this year was probably his best year regarding the situations, the pressure of repeat performance. But then as a team, to lose players over the last few years, to have to keep adapting your style, just the motivation to keep turning up. Like, I've played in the teams when you were played in a grand final, won a grand final. The year after, it's a mental game, and to just do it back to back to back, to keep coming up with the motivation, to keep your team connected. Just it'd be great to just sit in one video session out there and see how they do things, and listen to Ivan and Nathan run the show, because they're world class. So congratulations.
Yeah, and it's hard to back against them winning 5 in a row. At this stage, you sort of can't really back any other side while they're in the comp.
They were on the ropes there though, weren't they? Like Melbourne, the defensive effort to keep Melbourne out, obviously. Melbourne, it could have gone both ways, couldn't it? But I think, if you talk about next year and them going back to back again, I think Melbourne's probably the only one that can really challenge them at the moment. I'm excited to see how Broncos kick through. Like when you talk about next season, with Madge there, and we kept speaking about it, they can get their shit together, potentially, but. Yeah.
Is there more improved? The Bulldogs finished 3rd last year. They finished 6th this year. Do you think is there a push now for them to go? Well, top 4 is the next step for them. Are they with what Phil Gould and Cameron Ciraldo are doing? Are they maybe another team who could really push and challenge next year? Is that something that you think is possible?
Yeah, I think the Dogs can be better again. I think that they've got something about them, don't they, with Gus, Ciraldo and the roster that they've got. It's that they make little steps every year, and you can see them going again.
Yeah.
I just think the difference with Penrith and Melbourne obviously is their halves.
Yeah.
Nathan and Edwards and Jerome, and then Pappenhousen, Hughes, Grant and Munster there. It's just the icing on the cake, and these other teams don't have that at the moment.
Yeah.
They're defensively the best teams in the comp. Bulldogs have got that down pat. I think they'll be better again next year, but I think Dogs need it. They need a star, like an out-and-out star in their spine to get them to that next level.
That's why they've been talked about as being interested in someone like a Ben Hunt. He's that sort of player, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's that competitor.
Yeah.
Someone like Benny Hunt for them. I think if Benny Hunt or someone was to go there, you could see him in a grand final for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you just sort of think if they go from 15th last year to 6th this year, well, with another pre-season under their belt, under Ciraldo, with Phil Gould there in the background, you sort of go, well, what's the next step for them if they've gone from 15th to 6th? Do they make another jump next year? I guess, another issue for them, well, they've just lost Josh Adokar as well, and he was their equal top try scorer this year.
Where's he going, Josh? What's his name?
He was talking to Jason Riles at Parramatta that they were holding talks. He was going to be on $550,000 at the Bulldogs next year. You'd think now he's probably going to have to take a bit of a pay cut, you would think, but a handy pickup for anyone who can sign him. As I say, he was the equal top try scorer for the Bulldogs this year, so he can fall in the line. You'd think somebody's going to want him. There's no doubt about it. A star player like him.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You can see the Dogs had no option, did they, in the end? Well, that's what they decided, but he's a freak. He'll be good wherever he goes, and That's another one when you spoke about Parra. I'm looking forward to watching Parra next year. They need something, don't they? They're always just thereabouts. Who have they signed next year?
Parramatta.
Yeah.
I'll just bring that up. Lomax is going there. I'll just check these gains and losses. Sorry, I'll just bring that up. Lomax is going there. Just having a look there. Yeah, it looks like he's maybe the main one at this stage. Dean Hawkins from South, they've got him on board. Isaiah Iongi from the Panthers. Joash Papali from Canterbury. He's signed until 2026. Jordan Samrani from Canterbury. Jack Williams from Cronulla. Those are the Eels' gains at the moment. I think Lomax, he's keen to play in the centres, I believe, at the Eels next year. And you'd think, I guess, the signing, if they were to sign Josh Addo-Carr, that would help his cause in playing centre because they'd have Addo-Carr as another option on the wing, obviously.
Yeah. I'd like to see Dylan Brown just get used better as well. I think the thing is you got the Australian half there with Mitch Moses. They're thereabouts. I just think they probably need another middle too for me. Like they've lost Campbell Gillard to Titans, didn't he? He's just signed with Titans, Campbell Gillard, I think. They probably need one more middle, just that real X factor middle for me, Parra. But I'd love to see Dylan Brown get used better. A couple of years ago he was one of the best 5'8" in the game, and then he just sort of, I don't see him get as involved the last few years. I just think there's so much potential there with those two, with him and Mitch, to be better than what they are playing as a combination. That's out of full a compliment to both of them, how good they are. I think Parra need to get the best out of Dylan Brown, and then if they can pick up a Josh Addo-Carr and Lomax, they're starting to get some speed, quality finishes, and then I still think they need one more middle. I don't know who that is, but an out-and-out game-breaking middle, like a Fanua Blake type of player. Yeah,
you mentioned Campbell Gillard. Yeah, he's gone to the Titans until the end of 2027. I guess that's the next challenge for Mitch Moses, isn't it? Obviously guided New South Wales to that series win this year. Great job there. Guided Australia to that Pacific Championships win. Great job there as well. Now he's just looking to get it together with Parramatta next year, and hopefully they can have a much better season.
Yeah, it was only 2 years ago they were in the grand final.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're thereabouts, but I think they're just missing that something, aren't they? But sometimes a change of coach can bring that as well, bring that spark back. But I just look at it on paper. Dylan Brown and Mitch Moses can be the best in the comp, like potentially, where the game is now in the halves and they're sort of younger legs. I just love to see them sort of just spark it up next year because I love watching both of them play.
Yeah, you sort of think if they click, they could certainly be a finals team. They're certainly better than, playing in Spoon Bowl like they did this year. Just now with the season drawing to a close, I was just going to ask, did you have a highlight of this season? Obviously, New South Wales maybe winning that decider at Suncorp, that'd be right up there probably.
Yeah, that game, obviously winning, but that game was probably one of the best Origins I've watched.
Yeah.
Just the physicality of it, just how hard it was for especially that first 15-20 minutes. Another guy I'll give a rap to, Mitch Barnett. I thought he had to play for Australia, played Origin. That was his debut, I think, that decider. Or he might have played the game before, but good mate of mine, and I thought he was unbelievable. But probably that Origin, and then what was another highlight? I still think the grand final again, just watching Penrith do it all again, just the class that they showed, and just love Nathan Cleary. I love halves, but I love Nathan Cleary. It's just great watching those great players just growing and stepping up to every challenge. When you think they're down and out, they just keep turning back up. There was a game he played. There was 2 games for Nathan that stood out for me this year. They played against Parra, come from behind, and he got them back in front. And there was another one that he ended up kicking a field goal from far out. Can't remember the exact game, but the Parramatta one I remember specifically. He came back from an injury they were down and out. He's literally just put his team on his back, and I think they scored about 3 tries late to win. But he just kept doing that, didn't he? He did it about 4 or 5 times during the regular season, and then he got the result in the grand final, and it was Tom Brady, like, what he's starting to create in his legacy.
So you think he's on the path to becoming an immortal? He'd have to be.
Well, just on trophies and rings, there's no doubt. So, but I just love the fact he's always every time he comes back from an injury, there's something new to his game, and it just shows how much of a student he is and what he must be working on behind closed doors. So, as an ex-half, I love watching that, and that was some highlights for me.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned Mitch Barnett just before. Yeah, it was just that one Origin game for him. Yeah, so really well done to him. I'm just having a look at the Panthers season. I'm looking for that game we were talking about with that field goal. Actually, it might have been a 2-point field goal from Nathan, I think. So I think it might have been... I think it might have been a game against the Dolphins where he kicked...
It was Dolphins, that was the one. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, 2-point field goal in the 81st minute. So he kicked that in
early.
He kicked that in Golden Point.
I remember it. Yeah. And there was a Parra game too, I remember it was a highlight when I think it was in the last 10 minutes they scored about 3 tries or something. Yeah,
they were down 18-12 at half-time against the Dolphins there, and kicked that 2-point field goal in Golden Point. So a phenomenal season from him. What are you looking forward to most in 2025 as we finish up here today?
2025, the Roosters having a big year, getting back on track, seeing all their young kids come through and have some success.
Yeah. You think they'll challenge the Panthers and the Storm next year?
The Roosters? You'd like to think so. They've obviously got a few changes made there, so we'll wait and see there. But what am I looking forward to? Also, Penrith again. Looking forward to seeing how Penrith go. If they can go for 5, it'd be pretty unbelievable, wouldn't it? So it'd be good to watch them on their journey, losing a few more players again, and just see how great they can be.
Yeah, how much is the loss of Luai going to hurt them next year, do you think?
They've got that Blaze Tulangi, haven't they, next year?
Yeah.
Obviously, Jerome, it'd be massive. But it'd be interesting to see how they use Blaze, how he fits into their system, and how Nathan sort of gets the best out of him as well. So I'm excited to see that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks very much for coming in, Mitch. Great to have you, and thanks very much for coming on at various times throughout the year. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you again soon.
Good to be part of it, boys.
Yeah, thanks very much, everybody. Follow SmartB app on social media. Thanks very much, Producer John. And we'll catch you next time. See ya.